Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and let's make some games. So, this is a 3D tower defense game in Game Maker. It's coming along nicely. In the last couple of weeks, I have implemented the different tower types that I want to implement. I have added some UI to the game. I've done a little bit of game balancing. I want to improve both of those things, both of those last two things, gradually as we go. But for now, it's definitely usable. And this week, I'm going to start taking on tower upgrades. And that's going to, I've done a little bit of planning, as I probably should be in the habit of doing for these videos. I've done a little bit of planning. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to keep tower upgrades simple. Towers are just going to have 3 levels. They'll start out on level 1 when you place them, and you can click the upgrade button on them 2 times. And that will level them up, rank them up, whatever you want to call it. And it's not going to have any fancy skill trees or different upgrade paths or anything like that that some of the big name tower defense games might have. Instead, let's see. Different towers are going to have different things upgraded. I don't want all of the towers to just have their numbers go up when you upgrade them because I think that's a little bit boring. But I do want to not go too overboard on each of them. So I think what's going to happen is, of these 6 different tower types, 3 of them are going to be what I'm going to call simple upgrades, which are just going to be numbers going up, attack, fire rate, and that sort of thing. And the other 3 are going to be a little bit more interesting. So the bird nest, for example, I think I mentioned this when I was implementing it originally, but perhaps when it's upgraded, it'll gain an additional bird that comes out and flies around or something. Something like that isn't just an abstract number going up somewhere. Let me look at my notes. Another one that I've written down like that is for the magnifying glass. When you upgrade it, maybe instead of just doing damage when a bug walks underneath it, it'll actually set them on fire and cause them to take fire damage as well. Since, magnifying glasses. Alright. So to start with, let's go into the room. Let's look at the UI. And I believe a UI tower select is the user interface that appears when you select a tower. And you can see this this button here, this one in the middle, in UI tower select, is the upgrade button. That's what the text says. If I were to actually look at the creation code, I want on click, and when you click the button, it shows a message. And it needs to actually do something. And I think each tower is going to get their own level up method, or each tower type anyway, and I will invoke that. The towers themselves, the tower data structures themselves, they do have a level variable. They do have a self.level equals 1 when you create them, and that's a good starting point as any. Given that every tower is attached to a basically a class, a tower archetype, I think instead of each tower getting their own level up method, I'll just attach the upgrade method to the tower archetype class, and that will set different variables to different things, or edit code or that sort of thing. Not entirely sure yet though. I could always have entity tower contain an upgrade method that calls the class's upgrade method, but that might be a little bit shall we say, beating around the bush a little bit. Anyway. Let me close that. I actually probably didn't want to close that, but let me, first, how do I get the reference to the selected tower? I know that in, this is going to be the cell button, and I should probably rename these. I'll leave them with inst as the prefix, but tower cell is going to be your instance name. You can rename your instance IDs in the room editor from whatever the generic randomly generated name that GameMaker gives them. That's something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. And we can just do that to make them a little bit easier to see what we're looking for. This is just a text label with the tower's name, and this is the background. I don't really care about those. Anyway, tower cell game.selected entity is not equal to undefined, and the instance of the selected entity is a tower. That's probably a good guard to have, since if you happen to be coming from the the game editor or something like that. It may be something else. The selected entity may be something else. So let's start with that. And this user interface, the node-based user interface for GameMaker is one of the more controversial aspects of it. I don't mind it, but it does get a little bit crowded pretty often, pretty quickly, when you have a lot of stuff open like this. Especially when you're not zoomed in on it 100%. And if I'm trying to explain something that's happening on my screen, it's probably not for the better that there's so much happening on it. So let me maximize this for now. If the selected entity is indeed a tower, can I just instance of undefined and it'll spit out undefined instead of... That might be simpler. This is more clear what it's doing. Anyway, game dot selected entity dot, and what was it? I knew I shouldn't have closed that. This is going to be class, and that'll be the tower class. Now, just to make sure that I'm looking at the data that I think I am, let me just spit out the name, and that'll tell me if that'll tell me if I am indeed looking at the correct object. Just out of an abundance of caution, because it's always awkward when your code crashes. And it seems that nothing is happening when I click on this. Am I in the wrong instance? The sell button works. Has this not been saved? It's still got this code window still has the asterisk on it, like it's got unsaved changes. And when I opened it here, it's not saving my changes. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure. That was very weird. That's perhaps a bug in the IDE. I don't know why it wasn't actually saving my changes. Alright, that threw me through a loop. Let's try that again. Let's just plop down the fire tower, upgrade button, and indeed it's telling me that I'm looking at the right thing. Okay, so we'll give it a method called upgrade, and then we'll call it, and then, oh god. See, this is where it gets messy. I need to tell it exactly what to upgrade, because I can't just upgrade the class itself, because that'll be meaningless. So I do need to either tell the tower itself to upgrade, or I need to pass the tower as a parameter to the class's upgrade method, and... Alright, you know what? This will be nicer if I just tell the selected tower to upgrade itself, and then the button doesn't have to deal with it. Alright, so entity tower can have an upgrade method, and I'll, like, throw that down here at the bottom, I guess. It doesn't have to take a parameter, it can, oh god. We can call the... We can give the classes, the tower template class thing, whatever, an upgrade method if we want. We can invoke that. I am going to... I still don't know if I really want to just get rid of these entirely, these stat mod things. I haven't really made use of them. I feel like they could be useful, but I don't have a use for them now, and they're just kind of wasting space. That's a technical debt I am willing to swallow, just in case I want to bring that functionality back for something later. Anyway, upgrade. We're going to call this, I'm going to, I guess, give each tower data a, perhaps an array for fire rate, range, and damage, as well as cost, because the upgrade is going to have a cost as well. Possibly the model and the bullet data can change too. We'll worry about that next. Self.shot type. I don't think I've used this variable at any point throughout this entire game. I remember thinking about whether or not I wanted to remove this earlier, and I think I might have had something in mind for it earlier, but I never did anything with it, so that I will just get rid of, because it's not referenced anywhere, and there's pretty much no chance of removing it causing errors further on down the line. Alright. I haven't really made any meaningful changes. I won't commit anything yet. Or at least the one change that I have made, I'm still kind of work in progress. Alright, so tower rate, range, damage, and cost, these are going to become arrays. I'm going to prefix these parameters with ARR pirate speak, just so that I remember as the when I construct one that these parameters should be a an array. And when a tower is constructed, the rate, range, damage, and cost should be taken into account. Well, not cost here, but the rate, range, and damage should be taken into account. We will go to index 0 in that array. Cost is used when, I believe, when you sell a tower, which is going to be in this code file somewhere down here. Okay, so this is going to now be an array, and the amount of money you get back should be probably 90%. That's just basically what I arbitrarily decided. But 90% of probably the total amount of money you've spent on it. Previously, that was just the base cost when you construct it, but if the cost is going to be an array that also represents upgrade cost, we can say something like in a for loop for self.level. Yeah, that'll have the loop run once at level 0. I plus plus game.player money plus equals the class.cost of index I. So when you're level 1, the loop is going to run once I is going to equal 0. You're going to gain 90% of the cost index 0. If you're level 2, the loop is going to run twice, one for index 0, one for index 1, and so on. So that's just going to give you all your money back. Should you invest a lot in upgrading a tower. I may reduce this further just so that you can't like spam tower selling if you're in a pickle, but I don't think that's allowing the player to get their money back if they make a bad decision is something that I'm pretty okay with, so not gonna think too hard about it. Next, when you build a tower. Alright, so these are the only places in this part of the code where the cost value is referenced. And that should be index 0 as well, because when you build a tower, it's basically level 1, the level 1 cost. And if I search my code globally, yeah, that's the constructor. This is what I just wrote in the sell method, and these two lines here are the ones that I just added when you build them. This should be okay. So now I can just tower data. Alright, I just need to make these arrays. And God, this is gonna get really messy. Because these lines are gonna get really long, because it's gonna be, instead of just a couple single values, it's gonna be like arrays of 4 arrays of 3. And this is gonna get really messy. Okay, you know what? I can do something like this. Oh boy, formatting this was fun. Alright, well, I've broken up each of the tower definitions over multiple lines, and I've also labeled them so that I can quickly see what each array represents without having to remember the order or rely on GameMaker's code help down at the bottom there. But anyway, each of the parameters are now arrays. Each of the parameters that have to be arrays anyway, and right now they're just 3 sets of the same number. They're just sets of 3 of the same number. Those will change, as you can imagine. Pebble Shooter, when I increase its level, its fire rate's gonna go up. But let me run the game now and see if I can, if the game does what I think it's gonna do. It should. Okay, hasn't broken yet. And I can build you there, and we haven't broken, and I assume that means your stats are all the same, and you are indeed firing away and doing damage and that kind of thing. Okay. Let's see. I don't think there are any, I guess I can try selling a tower and seeing if I get back 90%. So if I spend... Why is it not? Okay, that was 15, I think. No, that was 25. 15, I guess. Alright, I can math. It was 15. And I did get back 14 of those, which is... Alright, well, that sounds about right. Hey. Alright. So let me make that a commit. All I'm gonna do is commit a couple of these files, which is going to be the tower data definition, entity tower definition, and the game, since that's all I really changed. Tower attributes are now an array. I'll commit the other stuff when I actually finish the like upgrade button and that sort of thing. Next. Okay. Let me just, when you upgrade the tower, the pebble shooter, because I'm going to focus on that one to test the systems. We're just going to increase the fire rate, because that should be the most visible. If you fire at double speed, or this is shots per second, right? I'm pretty sure I defined it as shots per second. Shots per second. If you're firing at double speed, I'm going to notice. Whereas if the range increases, that'll be a little bit harder to see. If the damage increases, I'll have to judge based on how much damage it does to an HP bar. I won't worry about money first. I won't worry about making sure you have enough money to actually click the upgrade button first. But I will just click it, and your fire rate should go up, and everything else should mostly stay the same. So, tower upgrade. I'm gonna say if... No, I'll just say first self.level++. I'll worry about checking to see if you're already at max level or if you have enough money or any and all of that later. We are just going to update the base attributes, which is going to be these. I think I need to recalculate my... Yeah, I'm going to have to recalculate my rate, range, and damage. In order to actually have that take effect. So let me I really should either consistently say self dot instance variables, or just not use the self at all, but I prefer to use self dot because it's more clear that this is referring to an instance variable. That is just a piece of code style. Am I not able to say dsgrid set for this? I feel like I should be able to. I don't know why I didn't before. Anyway, that's not what we're doing here today. I will also say that my cell phone is ringing, and that is a number that starts with 888, and I don't trust to be anything that is actually important. Calc rate. I guess I can say self.calculate also. Alright, you know what? Let me just use that nice reject incoming call button. I suspect some internet service somewhere, which has my phone number on record, had like a data breach recently, and has yet to disclose it to me, because in the last 48 hours, I've gotten probably about a dozen of those calls from absolutely nobody of relevance, and which I could not care less about. And I suspect that there is well, it's probably about time for me to check that have I been pwned website, is how I'll put it. Anyway, calc fire rate, calc, what are the other ones? Damage, and range is the other one. And that should apply all of those stat changes. Okay? Some other towers may do something a little bit more fancy. Some towers may have a special upgrade method. But that sounds like a subject for next week's video. Let's put out a pebble shooter. Let me launch a wave and upgrade. Does it look like you're firing faster? Not really. Alright, these guys are gonna move slower. Maybe the ants are just moving through too fast. Nope, okay. It looks like... What is my fire rate? It looks like it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Oh, you know what? Is this recalculated anywhere? Is there a reason this isn't part of the calculate rate, calculate range, calculate whatever functions? I feel like it should be. Because I don't want to have to run this much duplicate code. I feel like this is just what the calculate stat function should be for. Oh, set rate. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it should be probably set rate whatever instead of calculate, because set that recalculated that sorry, that recalculates it as it is. So that should actually, all right, this is probably the one that I'm intending myself to use. I should probably lowercase the I should probably make the calculate attribute methods lowercase just to indicate that I am not intending to use them. Undefined value somewhere. Okay. Why is there an undefined value somewhere? Which one was that? That was line 159, which is rate mod. And it's going to line 32, which is where's line 32? Here. What hasn't been defined? There's just some undefined value somewhere. Calculate rate is not undefined, I hope. And mod rate is 1. Okay, wait, I see. It takes a parameter. Set mod rate takes a parameter, and it really should be 1. I'm gonna say if value is undefined. Actually, we can be a little bit more proactive about that. If value is not undefined, then you're going to set the mod rate. Otherwise, it's just gonna stay the same. That way, if I don't pass a parameter, if the tower has a buff or something, that stat won't change, because that should not change when I rank up. A stat buff should not be erased if I upgrade the tower. Okay. And I'm just going to do the same thing for all of these. So that's going to be, yeah. And I can... Instead of doing basically the same thing, I can just call the function. I can just call the method here, and that should do the same thing. There's nothing else I have to change here because these no longer require a parameter. Let's see. If I just plop you down, you should be able to construct yourself the same as before, and you're going to fire at things the same as before. If I upgrade you, oh my god, okay, you're just going haywire. That's a lot more than 2 per second, I think. That's like 6 per second. And the range seems to be increased as well. It seems to be, I don't know if that's something I really intended. Okay, definitely don't double the fire rate or whatever, do whatever to the fire rate that is. Hang on. Okay, let me do it before and after. Show message self.act rate. I'm just gonna compare those values before and after. Boy, just setting this up is taking longer than I expected it to. I thought dealing with the numbers would be the bulk of the time, but it seems like it is not. So let me upgrade you. Before, you're going to be 1, and afterwards, you're going to be 6 indeed. So I did estimate that correctly, apparently. But I don't know. Did I insert like an incorrect base value somewhere? Oh, I know. It's level is indexed from 1, so when you start out you're level 1, but the ranks are indexed from 0. I could also just level ++ after fetching the values, but again, clarity. Okay, so this should at least, I don't know why it was calculating the fire rate to be 6, which is like double what the base rate was, but that's the wrong tower type. Let me 1 to 2 indeed. Are you gonna behave now? All right, it looks like you're firing at like 3 now. This is the sort of place where stepping through the code using the debugger might come in handy so that I can actually see where the 6 comes from. But okay, so it's 4. And it looks like it's coming out to about double what it should be. So in set rate mod, it is mod rate should be 1. And the actual rate should be calculate rate times 1. Calculate rate should be... Oh, it's base rate times the level. Okay. Okay. Yes, that would be indeed where the 2 is coming from. Let me get rid of those. I was thinking... Yes, I remember. Because I was thinking way back in the beginning that there would be, like, RPG stat equations to drive the numbers in this game. Because, like, what are games if not for just massive equations? But, and then I decided to keep it simple stupid, so... Alright, so that's where the unaccounted for numbers are coming from. Let's see, Pebble Shooter. I'm going to send you in. I'm going to upgrade you once. And you are indeed firing twice as fast. I can upgrade again and you'll be 50% faster on top of that, so 3 shots per second. Which is much better than 6, much more sane than 6. And that's actually not bad. Okay, so... Maybe I could have, like, an insane 4th level upgrade for all the towers, which are more expensive and are, like, later game, and for one of them, the Pebble Shooter could turn into a machine gun of sorts, but maybe later. Next! Let me commit that. Upgrade button. Now I can commit the whole thing. Although, I won't commit the changes to the game script where the database lives because I don't really need all that. Upgrade button works. Next, it's going to be a matter of constraining the upgrade button so that in certain situations, towers may not be able to be upgraded. For example, if you don't have enough money. I'm going to write myself another method, can be upgraded, and it's going to return false on a couple conditions. Its default state is going to be true. And I'm going to sort of proof by contradiction and say if self.level is greater than or equal to, just to be safe, 3. Return false if you don't have enough money. Return false. I think in the game macros, I'm going to just create a game macro for the max level. We can put that like max tower level can be 3, and instead of putting the magic number of 3 in this function, I can say if self.level is greater than or equal to the max tower level, return false. If you don't have enough money, this is going to be game.player_money. Game.player_money is less than self.class.cost self.level. And I don't need a -1 there because we should be looking at the next level. In that case, we're also going to return false. If I were to put these two conditions in the opposite order, it would be possible for an array out of bounds error to happen because if self.level is 3, you would be looking for index 3 in self.class.cost, and that does not exist, and that would cause an array out of bounds exception. But fortunately, we are cutting that off first. We are checking to see if our level is greater than or equal to 3 first before returning false. So this line of code never runs, if that were to be the case. Next, if can be upgraded is false, I am going to, I think, towers have an update method, and okay, I can gray this button out if the tower cannot be upgraded, and I can say it is update, right? Yeah, the method is called update. If if we have selected a tower, just in case. I don't know if ultimately there are going to be any situations in the game where it is possible to see this menu with something selected that isn't a tower, but better safe than sorry. Let me see. The subimage... Alright. I can just disable this button however I want. I'm going to say give the buttons another variable, and that can be enables equals true. We can say this is where the actual logic that happens when the player interacts with the button happens. But if enabled, then run this, else don't do anything. And also, I think the subimage that we're drawing can be 1 because that's the grayed out version. We don't need to declare var twice here. GameMaker will let us, but there's really no point. Okay. This shouldn't change anything itself because enabled is always going to be true and the game should behave the same as before. But we have the ability to disable a button now, should we want to. For example, if a tower cannot be upgraded. I feel like I should be crashing the game by clicking this button too much. You can't see me clicking it, but you can hear me clicking it probably, and I feel like doing that too often should crash the game. I don't know why it isn't. Anyway, this works the same as before. In the upgrade buttons update method, that sounds awful. We can say enabled is going to be false as the default state, and then if the selected entity is a tower which can be upgraded, enabled is going to be equal to, or we can do this the long way. If game.selected entity that can be upgraded, enabled is going to be true, else enabled is going to be false. There are at least 2 other ways that you can write this code, both of which are considerably shorter than this block of 5 lines right here. Anyway, let me see if this is going to do what I want it to do. If it does, I will make a commit. And then we break out the pebble shooter. Upgrade 1, 2, and oh, am I in the sell button? I'm totally in the sell button. All right, so 1, I don't need that. When did I get in here? I clicked on the wrong one. That's the background. Thank you. All right, this is the upgrade button. Yeah, it was the sell button that became grayed out, which is a little weird. Anyway. Wow, good job, me. Let's try that again. 1, 2, and the upgrade button is now grayed out. I can no longer click it, and we no longer run the risk of having some sort of like game crashing, but when you try to upgrade too far. Okay, we're now level 3. I should probably put some sort of indication as to what your tower's level is in the UI now, as well as the cost of upgrading and that sort of thing. But all right, we can make some commits. This is going to be buttons can now be disabled. That's its own thing. That should be its own thing anyway. Buttons can now be disabled. And before I push that to github.com on the internet, let me just make sure that it correctly re-enables if I were to select another tower that can be upgraded. Let's do that. Upgrade you twice. Buttons disabled. Let me open up the fire tower. All right, and the button is still, and it is re-enabled again. All right, everything is working as intended. This episode ended up going far longer than I thought it would. I'm going to cut this recording session in half, and it's going to be split into 2 weeks. The GitHub repository in the video description won't have a tag for this week, but otherwise, as always, if you want to go and look at the code, it's there. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there will be links to that in all the usual places as well. I try to post about 2 of these videos a week, one of these and one tutorial. Next week's tower defense episode is going to actually involve implementing a couple of the tower upgrades. This week was mostly focused on setting up the systems to make that work. Otherwise, I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Kiara Elizabeth, Connor, David Key, Edward Holt, Emily Koyo, Posho, Tusk, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want your name in the credits or to hear yourself shouted out at the end, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.